Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever the fuck you're watching this episode. It's another episode of the Chainz, Backyard Chains, brought to you by Backyard Sports. My name is Raul Herrera. I got Gary Freeze with me. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm good, buddy. Excited to hear about this upcoming Waco Charity Open. Uh,
Yeah, for sure.
I know you're going to bring the goods.
Man, I wish like hell I could attend it. It's fairly close to home, about a couple hours or less. Um, I've never played. I've never played the Beast course, Brazos East. I've heard it's a nightmare. I've watched footage to show that it's a nightmare. We saw some great competition last year, but Waco always brings out the best in somebody every year, and it does seem to be different every year. So um, and Nico's got a win there. Chris Dickerson, a woodsman, always going to be a presence out there. But you know, I think so. Last year, Paul Macbeth won in Waco, and that's he wasn't the most surprising victory there. I think the real winner of that tournament was Luke Humphreys, just putting on an absolute clinic of classic Texas woods golf. We'll see it in Waco, we'll see it in Austin, right after that, and then onward into Texas states. But they've done. I mean, these guys are. Luke is from Texas. He's played Texas golf, and so he knows how it goes. Hey, good to see you, senior, as always. Um, so this is going to be a great weekend of disc golf. I do want to briefly cover some action that happened this weekend. This was a Pro Am A tier, but not on the Elite Series this year for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So this year they played the Memorial in Vista del Camino, Scottsdale, Arizona. Um, and man, we expected Adam Hammis, we expected Anthony Barella. This is where Adam Hammis trains in the off season, is in Arizona. Anthony Barella, this is his home course basically, and a couple other folks always tend to do well there. So we've seen Calvin Heimberg do well there. Eagle McMahon has won there. Um, Gannon Burr has been a force to be reckoned with. Drew Gibson, an absolute bomber, always does well on this course. But we got to see some pretty spectacular stuff in round one. Adam Hammis with the hot round, 16 under par. This man didn't bogey. He had a look for bird almost at every single hole. It was fantastic golf. I mean, it was clinical. And of course, right next to him, his touring mate Anthony Barella is there now this year. They're on the same team with Discraft. It's going to be interesting to see the player development there with Anthony Barella. I think Discraft really won the offseason with that acquisition. And, I've talked about it before, but Innova is in some trouble, I think. They don't have a lot of star power. They're having to rely on Calvin Heimberg, who I have no doubt he is capable. There's no player who spends as much time consistently in the top 10 as Calvin Heimberg, with the exception of maybe Paul Macbeth or Ricky Wysocki. I mean, there's a reason why he's a top 5 player in the world, and he is committed to Innova, and he's done a lot of work in his offseason, and it's showing right off of the bat. His consistency and clutch moments look good. But Anthony Barella is a young cat who has a lot. He still has so much to learn, and he's like a dialed putt away from being a potential world champion. He can bomb. He's got forehands, and this is his home course. So this is his time with his new home team, with Discraft, to be able to show off on his home course. And he did his thing. 14 under in round one. Round two, it was Anthony Barella with the hot round at 15 under, Adam Hammis. And then we see a true trilogy in Team Discraft as Aaron Gossage comes in with a 13 under to tie for third place, or take solo third. As we go into round three, it's the same thing, but the lead changes. So now Aaron Gossage takes the lead, but in a three-way tie for first place as they go into the final round. And the hot round on the lead card was Aaron Gossage at 7 under, Gannon Burr with a negative 12 to come up into the rankings from, let me see where he was before. He was at 8th, took up all the way to 4th place to go into the final round. And final championship Sunday, Gannon Burr shoots 8 under. And of course, Aaron Gossage, Anthony Barella, and taking second and third. But Gannon Burr, all of the mysteriousness about his involvement with Prodigy, and then Prodigy on top of that posting a a congratulations for Gannon Burr, their athlete, which is odd considering they're trying to fire each other. So it was an interesting weekend,
No pub is bad pub, right?
Even though it wasn't on the Disc Golf Pro Tour stops this weekend, dude. It was, yeah. I mean, it's it's interesting.
Icy relationship.
Yeah. I'm trying to even think of what to compare it to.
Aaron Rodgers and anybody in his family.
I don't know, man. I just feel like
it is so weird to have an ongoing lawsuit too, right?
Yeah.
Like an active lawsuit in the sports world. I can't think of any other situation we've seen this other than some of like the sports entertainment world, but in professional athletics, like an ongoing lawsuit between a player and a big time sponsorship. It's definitely different.
You know what it reminds me of? I mean, it like it's almost kind of the dynamic between like Deshaun Watson and the Texans, but like as far as the ownership's trying to they're focused on their image at all times. Even though everything around them is burning. Only in this case, Gannon Burr's not a sex offender, but he's but he's just the victim of this like corporate entity that is just focused on its own image. And there's enough backup that I don't believe that Gannon Burr's claims are unwarranted. There's enough people saying the same things to where I feel like, it's worth attention. So anyways, so congrats to Gannon. I do believe he threw Prodigy in his bag. It turns out that he played the Las Vegas Challenge with only 8 or 9 discs, period. They were all Prodigy. This is a man who usually has a bag of 22 to 26 is, I think, what he said he plays. He plays a light bag when he competes. I think a lot of the pros have 30 plus.
What's the limit?
That's a great question. I have no clue. If anybody knows the answer to that, I would love to know. I have no clue what the limit is. But
because I know like the comparable thing is like golf, you can only have, I think it's like 16 clubs in your bag or something like that at most or something.
I've definitely seen some folks that have 30 plus.
That's crazy.
I feel like I have, yeah.
Do you think that during the course of a round somebody would use all 30? Or is it just having those in case you get in situations that you're going to use a certain one? Say you get behind an obstruction. I've got one I can kind of curve forehand or underhand, or
it's a lot of there's a lot of utilities. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of utility discs, but you also you've got to have. I mean, I'm not a pro, and I may be even overdoing it myself, but I have 3 go-to drivers depending on the wind.
So they are quite specialized.
Yeah. So like I'll play one specifically if there's a strong headwind. I'll play one if there's a cross right to left. I'll play one. The one that I play for left to right wind is the same one I'd play for headwind. And, in those situations, but 2 or 3 drivers probably that I would go with. Lightweight in case I need to have a strong tailwind and I need to push. So, yeah. Anyways, with that, I mean, you've got a lot of different club opportunity and you use putters a lot more than just on the green. You approach with putters as well. So it is interesting. It's really hard to kind of get something dialed in is what I'm learning once you get new plastic. So I lost a disc that was pretty important to me recently and I didn't realize it, but I had that disc for almost 2 years. And the way it flew at the time that I lost it was I've never had a distance driver fly better. And now I've lost it. And so I bought 2 more, and I've got to break those in at the same time. So I at least have, I now will have at least a backup. Yeah. And so I'm learning the importance of backups nowadays. It's struggling. But anyways. So Gannon Burr takes down a W in a very awkward kind of situation after the fact, but good for Gannon. Continuing to
real quick, my dad asked, is the game played on a standard golf course or what do they use? I know early on some golf courses did have some disc golf allowed.
And they do play some.
They do still play some, right? Even on the tour, they still play some, right?
Yeah, so the first tour stop of the season was the Las Vegas Challenge, which was on a ball golf course, on
So they
two
kind
different
of
ball golf
they kind of
courses.
carve it out of the same kind of area. But I know that like now there's some huge disc golf only courses.
Yes.
They're
Yeah, so
monsters.
where they're going to be at this weekend in Waco is exclusively just disc golf. And then same thing with this last weekend in Vista del Camino in Arizona. That's strictly just, I mean, it's like centered around a park. It's like a big,
Right.
there's a big pond in the center. You're playing the loop around the pond. There's a gigantic fountain. It's a pretty scenic tour stop. And so it was on the Pro Tour for a long time. And just this year was its first year off of the Pro Tour in a while. So, anyways, but yeah, they play a lot of cool courses that are not associated with ball golf courses,
Is there
and
a
a
reason
lot of
they
that.
move them up and down? Is it just money and sponsorship?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they probably pay attention to the ratings, but they're also looking at the difficulty of the courses. So
Okay.
Waco's on there a lot because the Beast Brazos East is one of the hardest courses on tour.
Lives up to the nickname.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, so, anyways, let's see. Let's see what else we got here. I did want to go into Waco, and we've already kind of opened the can of worms. Luke Humphreys having a fantastic performance. It was really impressive to see how he was able to kind of stick through it. There were some tough wind conditions, and he was competing against now 6-time world champion Paul McBeth. That's a lot of stress to be under, and Luke has been kind of this floater. He's done really well with GK Skin or GK Pro Skins as the host of that. And then he's become a personality in the disc golf community. But as far as his play, he hasn't been in the top 5, in a lot of these professional stops. And so it was good limelight for him last year. And I hope to see him do just as well this year. I think it's going to be important for him. It's going to be important for Prodigy to continue to have some folks that are in the limelight. Because look, Kevin Jones put on a show in Las Vegas. They're going to continue to claim it, but Gannon Burr just won the Memorial Challenge. Isaac Robinson was also in the mix, and he is also a team Prodigy. But if Innova is smart, they will go bet the house on Gannon Burr, because Gannon Burr and Calvin Heimberg, that's world championships and more than one. So, anyways, I don't know. Innova, talking to you, bud. Like, you better figure it the fuck out, because I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed this year in Innova. I was hoping that they'd go after Gannon, and they have not. So anyways, I think I've talked enough about it. I did want to just kind of present the overall scores for last year. Pull it up real quick. And voila. So Paul McBeth final score 23 under, 1050 rated. Absolute fantastic. And this is a 1,200 point stop on the Pro Tour. So as far as the points race is concerned, this is a big stop. And so the Elite Series are going to be great stops. Luke Humphreys collecting almost 1,200 there, taking home solo second place, 20 under. And then, of course, Chris Clemens, one of the most monstrous left-hand forehands you've ever seen in your life. Throws 400. I think I've seen him throw 500 forehand. It's incredible. It is fantastic golf. And I was talking about Isaac Robinson, Chris Dickerson, former Prodigy guy, is now his second year with Discraft. This will be interesting to see how he does. A classic woodsman. This guy lives and breathes Tennessee woods golf. I was talking about Kevin Jones last year, kind of slipped up here in the last couple rounds and ended up in 21st place. I'm looking to see him do well here too, because he is a woods golfer. He knows how to play Jonesboro well, which isn't necessarily woods golf, but there's some technical shots where I feel like he does well. That'll be his home course we'll visit later on the season. Anyways, so that was not as difficult as I thought that was going to be. So definitely proud of myself there. So we've talked about the Gannon and Prodigy situation. We've talked about who I believe we should be seeing as far as trades, as far as everything else is concerned. I would be curious to know who is going to make the move for Gannon. Michael, good to see you, buddy. Who's going to make the move for Gannon? I don't know much about anyone who may or may not be in the bidding war. I know a lot of this has to do with the fact that because of the litigation, no one's going to admit they're talking to Gannon, and he can't tell you who he's talking to. So it is a really unfortunate situation for such a great player who had a standout year last year, and now he's going to be forced to kind of be on thin ice on the course. What he throws, he can't have any. He was planning, and openly has stated this, he planned an open bag this year. He was going to throw end of a plastic. He was going to throw discraft. And I think that was his intention this year anyways, was just to allow his stock to build up. He was going to double down on himself, which is, again, not something you would see in football. You don't want to see somebody say, hey, I'm going to take a break from a team and just spend a free agency getting myself to. How many times do we see that guy do better?
Yeah, I think it's different too in like individual sports, right? Because we're talking about sponsorships versus teams, right? And I think that's the that's the one thing with like tennis and golf and all the other individual sports out there. It's not like teams that have rights to you. Like you're marketing your own image. And I'm curious, I don't know if you know the ins and outs of these sponsorship deals, but have we seen players in the past like weasel their way out of deals and just go to another sponsor? I assume there's some sort of breach of contract that causes an issue, because obviously that's what Prodigy is suing back, saying that there's a breach contract. Both sides are saying both sides breached contract. I assume it's not just as simple as that, right? A contract runs out and then you market yourself and get to a new deal. I imagine Gannon was thinking, I'm going to be able to get out of this because of all the things that Prodigy fucked up. We haven't really seen this, right? Plus, I understand disc golf on this level, right, with the sponsorships. You talked about it last year or before the football season started, right, that 7-figure deals were coming out and they weren't that common. And it's sort of new that this level of money and this level of recognition. Do you think we'll see more of this from players going against these companies?
I don't know that we're going to see more of it. I think we're going to see, what's going to come out of this is not frequency. It's going to be lessons learned. I think for both so something else that's happened more recently over the last couple of years is representation. So now over the last, I think 2 or 3 years, and I could be wrong. If there's somebody, an older head with a lower PDGA number than me, by all means, step in and let me know. But sports management, agents, managers, that type of stuff is pretty new as far as higher levels. So there's Beacon, there's Schaefer Sports Management. There's a couple of them that have kind of surfaced over the last few years. And they've taken all the
money has a lot to do with that, right? Now 100%. That we're seeing disc golf is starting to grow at an exponential rate.
100%.
You're seeing players need agents, but agents also see dollar signs they can make some money, right?
Exactly. And these guys are facilitating the big conversations with the bigger name distributors of independent plastic, of like, custom stamps and stuff like that. The distributors of their tour series plastic. A lot of these individual athletes will get their, we talked about Gannon not getting his own custom molds or his custom disc or memorial discs for his wins. They will all be issued some type of tour series. Calvin Heimberg has 2. He has the Toro and he has his Halo Destroyers, and those are all dedicated to him. But he gets to work out deals with marketplaces that want to sell them. He gets to sort out his own clothing deal. Last year, he had a deal with VII Apparel. He was sponsored by Grip. This year, he Grip Equipment, and these are his disc golf bags. And now he switched over to Squatch bags this year, which a lot of people have. There's a lot of up and coming private companies that are coming in and sponsoring folks. And so Gander Disc Golf is one that sponsors Gannon Burr, but it's all private investment. So Kevin Jones, Calvin Heimberg are all sponsored by Beacon. There's a few of them that are. And then Schaefer Sports Management also sponsors people like Jeremy Colling and a few other folks. And so that sports representation, I feel like is part of the reason why we saw this blow up with Gannon, but also we're going to see the lessons learned. We're going to see the contract negotiations on this are going to be a lot more simply put and a lot less handshake deals. which is good. I mean, it's got to come with the growth of the sport. If you want to do this seriously, you got to take it seriously. And so I think I think we're going to see changes for the better, but changes are coming nonetheless. So long-winded as that was, I love to see it, man. Like, a lot of people kind of feel like it's becoming corporate, but it needs to. We need to stop making it. If you want to take it seriously, you need to be serious. So don't be so fucking casual. We don't have time for that right now. We're trying to be on ESPN. Speaking of which, Jomez this year, Jomez Pro, one of the larger private production companies outside of the Disc Golf Network or the Disc Golf Pro Tour, they've taken on the MPO card, the male card, as well as the female card lead cards this season, which is a move for them in the right direction. So, I mean, look out ESPN, man. If this ever were to happen, your days on ESPN2 when they're popping in cornhole, maybe they'll sub in some disc golf. And when that happens, which they do from time to time, they've had the World Championships appear on there. They've had a couple events that'll air on ESPN2 or 3, whatever, the Ocho. And when that does, it'll be Jomez Pro coverage, because I can tell you this without a shadow of doubt. It's post-production, but their post-production is fantastic to watch. It's so much better than what we're seeing from the Disc Golf Network live right now, because they're just not quite there yet. So to be honest, I'd much rather watch post-production golf of the card that I want to watch rather than watching a highlight reel of all live as the guys are rolling through the active card. So I'd rather wait till the next day, unless I'm there, So either way, good stuff for Jomez coming up, I think. It'll be all for the better. All right. So you guys already know the spiel. Every episode we have is dedicated to a fallen service member, myself and Gary being Navy veterans, in our Folds of Honor sponsored segment that we like to call our Salute to Service. This episode is going to be dedicated to Army Specialist Brandon Rowe. He was 20 years old from Roscoe, Illinois. He was assigned to C Company, 1st Battalion, 502nd Infantry Regiment, 101st Airborne Division Air Assault, out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. He was killed in action by enemy artillery in Ayyub, Iraq. Army Specialist Brandon Rowe. We have the watch. So, are you talking about trying to catch the events, I'm guessing? Not seeing advertisements for
I think
shows.
So they run concurrent, basically, with like golf tournaments, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Championship Sundays
So
usually.
they're not on major networks either,
but they are on YouTube.
They are on YouTube.
Yep. They're on YouTube, and you can catch them live.
Yep.
So I can actually present that real quick before we wrap up. And now that I've learned how to do that, I'm fucking fancy. All right, so here it is. YouTube Disc Golf Pro Tour. That's all you got to do. It's right there. You can catch some of the live coverage as it happens. Jomez Pro is another great one. These are the best. 10 years of disc golf. I think this is their 11th. And so, yeah, you can catch all of their archived footage. Same thing, GK Pro. This is Skins Golf. If you've ever played Skins, that's where they're playing the same thing here. You can catch the 530-foot slip ace where the man throws a disc 530 feet, slips and bangs up his knee on the way down and still manages to ace it. And then Gatekeeper Media, which also catches a lot of the chase card coverage along the Pro Tour. So lots of resources here. And, of course, the disc golf guy. Terry Miller, the man's a staple. So, Oh, I almost just left the broadcast instead of stop sharing screen. Woo. Anyways, those are my recommendations. There are plenty of places to look on the western legs of the tour, like right now for the next, I think here, and then they'll come back and go into Santa Cruz later on in the season. But Central Coast Disc Golf does cover a few of them, but those are your major ones right there: Jomez, GK Pro, and Gatekeeper. So be sure to check those out. It's great coverage. The production value is pretty solid. They have drone coverage of some of the throws too, so you can see them in action. They have some of the professional drones that'll actually follow the disc as soon as the player throws them. Pretty cool. So, anyways, any closing thoughts there, Gary?
No, I'm excited to hear how Waco went next week. Excited to have you break it down. Who you got winning?
It's really tough to say. I want to say that depending on how Ricky Wysocki's doing, he's probably my favorite to take it. My next up that I've really been thinking about, and he's due for another surprise win, is going to be Chris Dickerson. I think he's supposed to be back this weekend. This will be his first tour. This will be his first stop on the tour for the season, and didn't talk about it much on the FPO card. The Sleeping Monsters is on her flight from Estonia to Waco, and goes by the name of Kristen Tatar. And so, Paige Pierce, you got a W. Katrina Allen, you got a W. Say goodbye to them fucking W's, because the GOAT has entered the building. Listen, there's just nobody better on the FPO card, and I won't hear different. Even Natalie Ryan, who's somehow competing on FBO cards this year. Anyways, we'll leave that be. If you don't know who it is, look it up. Anyways, without any further ado, my name is Raul Herrera. I got Gary Freeze with me. Backyard Chainz talking about disc golf, brought to you by Backyard Sports. We're out of here. See you guys next week.